Welcome to Behind the Masterpiece on Florida's Cultural Coast. I'm Brian Hersh, the CEO of the Arts and Culture Alliance of Sarasota County and the co-host of this podcast.
And I'm the other co-host of this podcast. My name is Jeffery. I'm the executive director of Sarasota Rising when I'm creating the Living Arts Festival for our region in November of 2024. This year coming up. Very exciting.
And this is episode 1. So Jeffrey, you and I, we get to interview each other on Florida's Cultural Coast on Behind the Masterpiece. Are you excited?
I'm a little afraid. I'm a little scared, but okay. I know that you're going to take it easy on me and not throw me any really hard questions.
Only hard questions for you,
okay.
Jeffrey.
I'll take them. You know what? Boom, boom. We can handle it, right?
All right. Yeah. Show me what you got.
I just always think it's interesting about, how did you get where you are? So, in that world that you're sitting in a big chair right now. So how did you get there? What drove you in this world to be in the position that you're in right now?
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey. Listen, I think as musicians and, first I'm a musician, right? So I went to music school a long, long time ago, but that means even growing up in school, I was always active in school, ensembles, all kinds of different stuff. And I will tell you, I never had a job I thought I would have. I think that's really kind of possible in the arts. And I think that sometimes I know I love art and music, but it doesn't mean I know I don't know what I want to do with it all the time. And it evolved. And actually, as a musician, this is my creative outlet now. I feel like I can make an impact in this space, in this community. I told people in this interview, I love arts and culture and I love Sarasota County. So for me, I'm right where I need to be.
Wow.
So but Jeffrey, let's turn the tables. I'm like, hey, if we are artists and musicians, I'm sure you have an arts background. What's your arts origin story? How are you here?
Listen, all I can say is that my parents were so happy that I was actually able to make a living doing what I love to do, which is the theater arts. I started off as an actor and then directing and producing and then writing, and then the Players happened. And that was 15 years that went by in a flash. And a group of business people said to me, we think there should be an arts festival for our region. And I said, I think you're right. And they said, well, you help us find that right person. And literally I raised my hand and I said, I think that might be me. And they're like, okay. And that's 3 years ago now. And it hasn't always been easy. I will admit that it's had its challenges, but I guess I kind of have to agree with you that I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be and that things are happening the way they're supposed to, maybe even though they're not scheduled, I'm behind schedule, but I feel like, but that's okay for this very first time. The schedule was something that I kind of made up, but things are kind of happening organically. So I feel like I'm in a great place and where I need to be. And of course, happy to be doing this podcast because I think this is so important that we get some of these stories out in the world.
For sure. Love sharing stories about art and culture in Sarasota County.
Well, there's a lot, we're preaching to the choir, but we're in a really unique area. I mean, we're in a unique part of the country, which is why, we felt that there should be a festival. How do you think we differ from other areas that think that they're cultural locations? I mean,
this is a great question, Jeffrey.
To put up a fight.
So I love it. These are what we tell all the time. It's like, what sets Sarasota County apart? And honestly, it's the mix of all of these things. First of all, you and I, all we have to do is walk outside and it's stunning and it's beautiful. I saw some amazing sunsets over the last few days. This weekend, I saw the most beautiful rainbow I've ever seen. It was awesome. But listen, you can't extrapolate our arts and culture from this beautiful environment. And if our environment are natural resources, I view arts and culture here as a natural resource as well. The magnitude and the quality, the variety of things you can experience and see. So yeah, it sounds like a slogan, but listen, you can go to the beach during the day or maybe hike one of our trails or go kayaking. You know what you can do at night? You can go experience an amazing performance. So yeah, that's what I think. But Jeffrey, you've created this amazing, while it's not a rocket launch, thank goodness, when you talk about behind schedule, I think of rocket launches,
10, 9,
yeah.
8. Yeah, yeah.
You've created something amazing in Sarasota Rising. So what should people know about that? How does this highlight our region as well?
Well, and it's interesting, when you started talking, I started nodding in a good way, because I think initially there were people that thought that this was just a theater festival, or was just for, the big guns in our region. And it was very quickly that I understood that what an art festival, what a festival like ours does for a community is it brings people together. And the last thing I wanted to do was to alienate and say no to the smaller organizations or the non-professionals. I think that you're right. What makes us so unique is that there's so much awesome stuff happening every single day. And you don't know that some of the smaller groups may have more of an impact than we know. The first thing that happened when I started talking to arts organizations was that I didn't know half of them. And I've lived here since 1993, and I'd never heard of some of these arts organizations before. And I got to tell you, I fell in love with them. And then the last thing I wanted to do was to say, oh, yeah, this is just for professionals. I felt like every time I would say no to somebody, it's like taking an axe to a sequoia tree. Like, here we have this beautiful thing. Let's destroy it by saying no, 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 and rather be inclusive. I mean, it costs nothing to create a bigger table and to be engaging with lots of different organizations on lots of different levels. And I think the fun thing about the festival is that, the big guys, they're going out with their big guns, and that's great. And then kind of the events that we're doing, we kind of talked about having a festival in 6 acts, where there's like the 5 things that we're producing. And then that 6th act is everyone else. And who's to say what that everyone else is? So I'm really proud that literally we have almost 100% participation with area arts groups with this first festival. And I got to tell you, if I could pat myself in the back right now, I would. Ow. But because that was no easy feat to be able to kind of get people engaged. Luckily, I had some wonderful help. So that, that always helps.
Kudos. It's happening.
Have a little help from our friends, right?
No doubt. I know that song.
Yeah. Please don't sing it.
I'm not going to sing.
I get by with a little help from my friends.
You just told me not to sing it. So
I know. I'm doing a bad impersonation if I don't even know who sings that song. Yeah.
Ringo, I can tell you, sings it from the Beatles. I definitely know that. As a drummer, I know those things.
Drummer. So Mr. Drummer, you've been drumming for what? Is it a year? Have you had your year anniversary?
It's been just over a year since I've been at the helm of the Arts and Culture Alliance. Yes, it's true.
And has it been exactly what you expected it to be?
So just as I've never had a job I thought I would have, the year is not what I expected it to be. But At the same time, I think just like you, I welcome new opportunities and new challenges, and it's been quite a growth. But I'm telling you, this is a real house. This was a real year of just building the house, so to speak, and building our foundation as the Arts and Culture Alliance. And I'm really, really excited. We've got a brand new website that I know our listeners would love, sarasotaarts.org, because it's got a calendar and all of the different events of all of our arts organizations are there, and they're listed so people can find those kinds of things. And then just building a great team and all kinds of stuff like that. But I love the challenge and opportunity. No, it's not what I expected, but what is? And I don't know about you. So if you're ever rehearsing a production, they'll tell you if everything is exactly the way that, it's turning out as the way you planned, then there may not have been any creativity. And so I would say there's plenty of creativity because not everything's turning out the way that we planned it exactly. And I enjoy that creative energy. So I'm going to flip it with you, Jeffrey. So yeah, and you alluded to it a little bit, but your festival, Sarasota Rising, the Living Arts Festival, has really evolved and grown too. What's different about it as it's about to open versus when it started? What's changed and evolved for you?
I got to tell you, we made our plans and we kind of, and I always say we. some of those we's have just been me. And then I've also had great board members. I've had great startup team members. I have a great team right now. And I got to tell you, I appreciate right now being able to say we, because having people to talk to in your office is really kind of awesome. So initially, almost everything that was planned was just from my head. And I created it out of going to other festivals and going to other and watching and seeing how they work and how they do their how they plan. And at some point, you've got to just shut up and do it. You've got to just put something out there. So that's why really early on we started talking about, well, would fall dates be better? Would spring dates be better? And all the organizations were like fall. So, there's an election this year. I don't know whether you're familiar, whether you're aware of that, but there is. And so the 10th through the 17th is the following week. And then the best mistake ever was I had planned to use like Selby Five Points Park for a big 3-day festival weekend. And that was going to be during the week of the festival. And the space became unavailable. So I moved it to a pre-festival event, which has worked out beautifully because now the week of the festival, we can truly be driving people to go to the organizations that we're here to represent. So I got to tell you, the universe has talked and spoken to us over and over again, and the festival is becoming exactly what it should be. And there's been some organic and there's been some bruises, but I got to tell you that the energy and the momentum for our region is so strong.
Jeffrey, how do people follow what's going on with Sarasota Rising? What's the best way to make sure people are learning what's happening with the festival?
That is a wonderful question. We have a website that we started when we didn't even know what we were doing. So it's always under this constant change, but www.sarasotarising.org. Of course, we do social media things. So we're on Facebook and Instagram. We've been really fortunate to get some great press. We had an edibles magazine that just came out. We had a scene magazine. Jay Handelman at the Herald Tribune just did a super article this last weekend. So the website will have those. It also has a series of videos that I've done. I found that I was kind of saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So finally, I'm like, I'm just going to do some videos and put them out there. And that will help people understand, because I know it's a challenge with this first festival. What are we? Who are we? Where are we? All of that is out there. So people just need to investigate and spend a little time on the website and follow us on social media. We need lots of support. I mean, I don't mind saying it, that there's no way for my small little board and my one employee. I have a employee, Aaron, who's amazing. We're going to need just tons of volunteers and support. We're looking for sponsorships for some of our events right now. We've gotten great support from the foundations and some from local philanthropists. We need more. And that's going to continue always because, when we finish with this festival, we're already making plans for next year and the events that we're doing. So I think it's exciting what we're doing. I think it should be fun. So if people want to help, you talked about leadership. I think the one thing that I enjoy doing is, kind of leading and rolling up my sleeves and helping and working alongside. So I invite people to just become involved in any part of our art scene, and not just with the festival, but there's lots of organizations out there that would love some helping hands.
That's right. All of our arts organizations benefit from you. You as in the general public and our visitors. Hey, buy a ticket, buy a membership, subscribe, become a member. You could always volunteer. And of course, everyone loves some donations and fundraising as well, right?
Well, the thing that people often forget is that the arts are a big business. And you know that more than anybody. Right? There's the great percentage. Sarasota County has great percentages about what the arts does to our economy, right?
Over $342 million every single year. It is what draws a lot of people here, whether you're just visiting great. That's amazing. But also we know it helps people move here. I don't know how many people you run into, but I know if they decide to retire here or just to be part of here or open up a business here, the arts and culture is a huge part of our economic driving force. And we love that. It's, again, arts and culture paired with our beautiful environment. That is something that makes Sarasota unique. It helps things rise, right, Jeffrey? Sarasota Rising.
Sarasota Rising kind of came from Roxy Jurdy at the Community Foundation, because she would always say to me, Jeffrey, if you do it right, all boats rise. All boats rise. And that's really where, when I was starting this and trying to engage with the community, that kind of popped into my head. So we have so many amazingly smart people in our area, and I don't steal from them. I borrow their knowledge, and then I make it my own. So that's where Sarasota Rising came from. And living arts, who doesn't care? Who doesn't love the arts and how they're alive and vibrant in our community? So that's everything kind of came from in a very organic place with the folks that are in our region. We have an amazing community. Is so blessed, and how wonderful that we get this opportunity to talk to each other, and then each of us get to talk to other people who are on our lists. And what did they do? Did people just go to Visit Sarasota and say, I want to be a part of their podcast? Is that how that's working?
I think that's how it's working. If you go to Visit Sarasota, you will find a link right there, and people can get this podcast and find a way if they want to be part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love all the different hidden gems. I think you've alluded to. There's so much in this community that we don't know about. There's always a chance to discover something. And even if you think you know an organization, I bet you they're producing something new and presenting something new this season too. I think that's what's really exciting. I can't go a week without experiencing something new in arts and culture in Sarasota. And I think that is what's incredibly exciting about arts and culture in Sarasota County.
Yeah. People always are like, Jeffrey, oh my gosh, you're everywhere. And I'm like, you know what? My response should be, you should be everywhere too. Because not that there's not great things on TV, but seriously, put down the remote and go and support some of these organizations. There's so many amazing people doing amazing work, and none of the reality TV shows are going to do anything to help you with your smarts. They're just reality schmorality. We visit, see something live, enjoy something live. And then listen to our podcast.
Listen to our podcast and experience something live. This doesn't have to be live. If people want to tune into this at their own time, we highly recommend. We're happy that they do it. And then we hope they do experience something live. And again, they can always go to sarasotaarts.org to catch something at the Arts and Culture Alliance. I know that they can find out more information on Visit Sarasota County about this podcast as well. Right, Jeffrey?
That's exactly right. Thanks so much. This has been nice for us, chatting. Normally I'm sitting across your desk from you, but this is interesting having it done, on the podcast, on the World Wide Web. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure. Well, I'm Brian Hersh, host of Behind the Masterpiece on Florida's Cultural Coast, with my amazing friend and colleague over here, Jeffrey Kinn.
All the best to you, Brian. Break many legs out there.
Hey, same to you. Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Masterpiece. Thanks for listening to this episode of Behind the Masterpiece, brought to you by Visit Sarasota County. For more and to hear this podcast, go to visitsarasota.com.